All right. So once we've created our prospecting campaign, the next campaign that we're going to create is our retargeting campaign. I'm going to go through every ad set that you need to know here and really detailed settings. So let's just jump straight into it. So obviously we have our prospecting campaign already. We're going to go ahead and create a new campaign. It's going to be a sales-based campaign. I'm going to name this really simple, retargeting. I like to put the ML in front to distinguish that it's my campaign. And then for the first part of this, we are actually going to set this up in one of two ways. You could set this up at a campaign budget, or you can set this up at an ad set budget. For just starting out, I'm going to recommend campaign budget, but I'll explain to you the caveats in a second. So in this case, we've spent and we set our prospecting budget to $800 because we made the assumption that we're spending $1,000 in total. That gives us wiggle room for about 20% in retargeting and, 10% retargeting, 10% in retention. The thing is, the way we set our budgets here are going to vary after launch. So for this case, I'm going to keep this really simple and just set it to $50. Keep in mind, if you are just starting out, you don't need to do too much retargeting. An easy way, that's, I guess, kind of easy, where you could figure out how much retargeting you need to actually do is by actually putting in a formula based on CPMs. Let me show you that formula. So I just went ahead and created a Google Sheet. This is nothing fancy. You just need to get your CPMs, your frequency, and your estimated audience size. Now, if you don't have these things already, cool. Just put in a very low number, and as the data starts to flow in, then you could figure out what your budget is after the fact. For this example, I'm going to assume my CPM is $25. My frequency in my existing retargeting campaign, I'm going to assume is somewhere around 7 to 10 on a 7-day period. But this is really our ideal frequency, so to say ideal frequency here. So in this case, we want our ideal frequency to be 7. That means every person sees on average 7 ads over the course of 7 days in the retargeting bucket. The next thing we do is we estimate the size of our addressable audience. So if we're retargeting, the audiences that I'm going to give you in a few minutes here are going to be 30-day site visitors and 90-day add to carts. To keep this really simple, we're going to use the 30-day site visitor estimate. The way that you can grab that is you can go into your Shopify store. You could then pull the number of sessions that you've had in your Shopify store over the last 7 days. That will give you an estimated size. Whatever that number is, cut it in half. So if we have 10,000 people who visited our store, I'm only saying 5,000. Then what we want to do is we need to figure out how many times can these 5,000 people be addressed where they're hit 7 times each if our cost per 1,000, our CPM's cost per 1,000 is $25. Just to put this into actual numbers here, our estimated size is 5,000, our frequency is 7. And that means, I just have my little formula on the right side here, that means that the total impressions we're going to go for are going to be 5,000 times 7, meaning we're going to be able to impress 35,000 times. We're going to reach 5,000 unique people. And then we need to do some very simple division here, which is going to be based on equals 35,000 times cost per impression, which is going to be 0.02, which is going to be 2.5 cents per impression. I think that's correct, which should get us a total budget of $875 over the course of a 7 to 10 day period. So we're just going to assume this is a 10-day period. That's what I was thinking about at first. 10-day period. And simply we're going to divide 875 divided by 10, puts us at a budget of $87 per day. Now, you could use this. This is just an ideal. I just made this up quickly on the spot. But it should just give you a balance of a range, right? Whether you put in, when you get 87, whether you put in 75, 50, 100, that's how these numbers should be impacted. But you're always just using your baseline CPM here. And I hope this is a first and early understanding of how complex some of this data is going to get, because as we move on throughout this program, this is going to be commonplace, right? Sheets like this, calculators like this, on the fly calculations, a little bit of chat GPT here and there. This is going to be huge for us to not waste as much ad spend. This is what the team really likes to do. So anyway, we're going to put our budget in here. We're going to follow the we're going to follow $75. I'm going to be a little bit more conservative here. In our retargeting campaign, we're going for highest volume or value. We are not setting any sort of campaign budget scheduling or ad scheduling. Our audience segment reporting should be set up as we set those up previously in the advertiser settings. And then we're going to go down to our first ad set. Within our first ad set, we're going to set up our most standard add to cart underscore 90 days. This is going to be anyone who's added to our cart in the last 90 days. Our conversion location is going to just be website. It's not going to be under this multiple. It's going to be single website. We're going to switch this we're going to keep this and maximize number of conversions. Now, I've talked about this a little bit before. If you have a store that has hundreds of products at different prices, it's completely okay to change this to maximize value of conversions. If you do that, just make sure you go down to the more settings and switch this from 7-day click to 7-day click, 1-day view. Very important. In this case, this example, I'm using the most standard, maximize number of conversions, which generally operates under the assumption that most of my SKUs are in the same price range. That could mean I have SKUs at $30 and $50. What it doesn't mean is I have, 50% of my business is SKUs that are $500 and the other 50% of SKUs that are $10, right? Huge average order value swings. So maximize number of conversions. Make sure your conversion event is set up to the purchase event. We are not setting up any cost per result goals, no value rules just yet. That's a whole nother section that we're going to get to in a bit. All right, and as we continue to scroll down here, there are really no other changes we're going to make except when we get down to the audience. So once we're in the audience, first thing we're going to do is just click further limit the reach of our ads and click switch setup. Basically, if we don't do this, it's just going to be a suggested audience. And this is one of the things I see people mess up the most on. We audit dozens and dozens of accounts like every single week. And when you keep it in this recommended setup as I have right here, and even if you select your audiences, so even if you go here and you start to insert your custom audiences here, you're still just using this as a suggestion. So what might happen is you might go here, you might click add suggestions and start to insert. It is still going to be a broad audience and it's going to go beyond your target. That's bad. So what we want to do here instead is click further limit the reach, switch setup. We're going to keep our locations everywhere that you could sell, ages 18 to 65 plus, genders on all. Custom audience is where we start to get unique here. We're going to click into custom audience, and I have created these already, but I'll show you how to create them as well. This is our add to cart 90 days. So we're clicking create new, custom audience, website, next. We're making sure our pixel is correct. We're changing our event to the add to cart event. We're doing this for 90 days. We want everyone who's added to cart in the last 90 days. We're going to include more people. We're going to then go down to initiate checkout. We're going to also do this for 90 days. Now, these are the same thing. You can't add to cart without initiating checkout, but there's one little piece of this here. When you get to the initiate checkout, you start to give more information to the Facebook Pixel and the Conversions API. So we always want to target both of these, even though they're 95% overlap. Now, thing to mention on this audience retention piece here, I've set this for 90 days. If you want to go ahead and expand this because you're a very young business or a small business, cool. That's fine. Use your sense here. 90 days is what I fall at is standard, and it's especially standard for businesses that are, over $100,000, especially over $100,000 a month. If you want to go smaller because you're a big business watching this, or maybe you work for a big business, then that's also completely fine. If you know you get thousands of add to carts every single day, narrow this down to 30 days or even 14 days. It's completely fine. Once you go ahead and create this here, I'm going to call this add to cart plus IC 90 days. I'm just going to descript this as ML, create the audience. Excellent. That is created. We can go ahead and click done. There's two more things we're going to need to do. First, we're going to add an exclusion here. So we did these exclusions prior. This exclusion right here is going to be for the purchase event. This is the same exclusions we set up in our prospecting campaign as well. We're getting purchasers over the last 180 days, and we're getting the same list from Klaviyo. In Klaviyo, I like to be a little bit different. We like to use purchasers 365 days for our exclusion in Klaviyo. Excuse me, I made a total mistake there. Purchasers 90 days is what we like to do for Klaviyo. This is just to make sure we're hitting the most amount of people in the overlap group. If you want to do both 180 days, it's totally fine. It does not matter too much. This is just how I've always done it, how I prefer to do it. Last piece here that is the most important part of this setup is unselect, use as a suggestion. So note here how my campaign score is 85, advantage plus on, it's a broad audience. Don't worry about this fewer than 1,000. It's still tracking as a broad audience. How is my add to cart / initiate checkout a broad audience? I'm not Nike. I don't have a billion people on my add to cart. Unselect this use as a suggestion, and bang, it goes right down to narrow. My campaign score drops. It's no longer an advantage plus campaign. Good. You don't want these things because you actually want to target just these people here. You don't want to allow Facebook to go beyond. This is very important. After this is done, detailed targeting, languages, and placements get left untouched completely. And as we did in prospecting, we are going to stop there for the add to cart, and we'll get to the exact ads that we're going to set up in a few moments. The only other thing we're going to do here, so we're going to delete this ad just so we don't have to duplicate everything. We're going to duplicate this ad set because we're stealing basically 90% of the same settings. Everything should check out exactly the same as we just did in the previous ad set, except we're going to go to this custom audience. We're going to move this add to cart 90 days as an exclusion. Boom. And then we are going to include site visitors 30 days. Now I've already built this audience. So we're going to do the site visitor 30 days. And we're going to also get our Klaviyo site visitors 30 days. By the way, I've said Klaviyo a few times here. If you have not set these up properly in Klaviyo yet, we have a tutorial that I'll make sure it's plugged in here properly so that you can, actually see how to do that. It's a little bit complicated. Cool. That is just about it for this section. All we've done here is we've created our add to cart 90 days and our site visitors 30 days. These are going to be the staple for our retargeting. We're going to build another form of retargeting campaign in just a moment, but these are the staples, the most important things.